Welcome to episode 163 of the Mug Podcast, a member of the Odd Pods Media Network. Listen in as we discuss the dark and sometimes weird true stories in American politics. I'm Tina Hanamiya.
And I'm Hillary Doherty.
Oh, Hillary.
Tina comes over here on a beautiful Saturday morning, and I'm like, here's all my shit. I'll lay it before you. I lay my shit before you.
You can lay your shit before me all day, every day, 100% anytime. You know that I'm always here.
Don't make me cry again.
Okay. I love you. I just want to tell you that.
I love you too.
I'm going to tell you something that might make you happy.
Okay.
I got someone's birthday present on the way. No, don't cry. It's supposed to make you happy.
It's going to make me cry.
I'm excited about it. I hope. I'm like, I'm always like nervous. I'm always like, is she gonna like it?
Girl,
she likes it.
I thank you. I'm gonna love it.
Okay.
Please. You get the best
I think
gifts.
you'll be kind of like,
No.
I think you'll be like, what? I hope.
You're a great gift giver. Speaking of gifts, we've got a huge box here between us.
What's in the box?
What's in the box? Hopefully our good friend Annette did not send us a severed head.
Yes, no.
Unless it's, well, dang it, I was going to say a politician's name,
No.
but I don't want to get arrested, okay, people?
No.
So that's just another problem I need on my long list of problems. But it says perishable. Oh,
Yummy.
Annette, you sweet baby doll. Is this to come to Florida? Like, is this your juju to get us to get you to come to Florida? I hope so.
Well, she did post a
there's
comment
so much
about maybe making her way down here.
Ooh, candy!
Oh my god.
Dark chocolate malt balls.
Malt balls are my favorite things in the world. No, we're gonna share. Look how many. We're gonna split this shit up, girl.
Tina and I are gonna fucking wrestle over food. Oh, here. Oh, shit. Open a card. Card first. Have some manners, Hillary. Ugh.
Oh gosh. I don't have my dang glass. Okay.
Oh, shit. You want me to do it?
It's a magic potion that makes everything you say interesting, and it's a mama with wine. Happy Valentine's Day. These are some of my favorite chocolates from a local shop. Keep fighting the good fight. Stay blue in blue.
Oh my god. Annette, you're so sweet.
I got little goosebumps. This is the sweetest thing. Oh my god.
I have no idea how much this has made my day.
This
Thank
is
you.
so sweet. I'm going to put this here. Let's
Yes.
put that there. I don't know if the camera can see it, but it's there.
I love it. Girl got a favorite local chocolate shop. This is my kind of girl. Oh. Ooh, look at these little babies. Little kids are so cute.
I am so excited. Okay, so
I gotta hide all this because my
listen.
kids will eat it. It's
I
more dark
just-
chocolate. Oh,
dark chocolate is my favorite.
Me too. And that was a later in life thing for me. Dark chocolate.
Me too. Well, I mean, I always like the special dark chocolate, like the Hershey's
Oh,
special
yeah.
dark. But it would only be at like Halloween or something. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I don't know. It was like a rare thing that I would have that.
Mm.
And then I went through this I think I said this before on the podcast, about a few years ago, where I went and I started with like 50% dark.
Oh,
and
yes,
I moved
yeah.
up. And so I love dark
little
chocolate.
chocolate truffles.
And I just had a cavity filled, so I'm ready.
Oh, I'm taking my kids to the dentist after this. Uh-oh, this bag opened, but it's more dark chocolate, but like these pretty heart oil leaves. That bag opened. That's okay. We'll leave that in there.
This is the sweetest thing.
There's so much. Look at this.
This is
Sparkling
so...
Prosecco cordial. There's two of them.
This
Tina,
is beyond exciting.
we have the best fucking fans.
Oh my god.
Fan, Annette. Annette, you have no idea.
Oh my god, this is so beyond sweet.
These are so good, especially the strawberry. The owner's wife made them like I make up palette. Then like I make a palette. What? Makeup. Oh, like a makeup palette. Oh, let's see what this looks like.
This is so exciting.
Oh, look, they're
Support
so
local.
pretty. They like paint them.
Annette.
Girl, this is too fucking
This is
much.
so nice.
You have no idea how
my
we're awful
God.
people. We do not deserve this. We're terrible people, aren't we?
You're amazing.
No, awful.
No, amazing.
Annette, you son of a bitch! You did it again! You did it again. I literally was lighting you.
You did it again. Sorry.
Always a song.
I'm sorry.
There's always a song.
I'm sorry.
But remember, she got us those amazing candles from Malicious women
yes.
candles, whatever.
I still have.
Me too.
I
They
love
smell so
them.
great. And then I follow them on Instagram.
Yes,
They are funny.
they are funny, and they're. Oh, I love it. I love because they.
Such a great company.
Yeah.
Women run by women.
Women.
Oh my God, such a great
Women
company.
for everything, please.
That's what I'm here for.
All right. Well, we have gotta be a little quick today.
We got things to do.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I had on my list was open the present from Annette. Like I don't have anything else to say.
I have a couple things.
Okay.
And I know that this is a Florida problem. And I've been thinking about, like, I want to write an open letter. I want to write an open letter and beg, like, people who have large platforms to sound the alarm on Ron DeSantis. I you know what I mean? Like, we need, I don't care if it's a rock star, an actor, someone, like, and I hate to say, like, oh, I have to go Hollywood, but, like, we need someone with a big platform to sound the alarm on DeSantis, because I don't think the rest of the country really understands what is happening in this state. And the book banning, it may as well be burning,
might as well.
is continuing throughout the state. The threat of removing AP courses statewide.
What is that? Why? What the fuck?
Because it's either too woke or because.
But this is somebody who is in higher at this much.
Right.
Am I crazy or did he go? Where did he go to school?
He went to, I believe he was a private school kid. He taught at a very elite private school.
But
he went to Harvard or Yale. He was.
I'm gonna look it up because this is somebody who's not anti-education. Like he has higher education. This is what's so bizarre to me.
Well,
is that this is somebody who, on his own, made his way through the education system on a high level.
Well, this is his thing, though. Like, it's like, you say that the saying is what's good for the goose is good for the gander. But just like DeSantis didn't want weapons at his rally, right? It's good for all of you, but it's not good for me, right?
He went to Yale for his bachelor's and Harvard for his Juris Doctor degree.
Yeah.
His law degree.
Yeah.
Let's see where his wife went to school. Did she go to school somewhere?
Oh, God. And that woman, did you see? I'm going to pull this up.
She got her Bachelor of Science in Economics from College of Charleston. So they're not against higher education. Like, I don't understand this. So it's okay for them.
They're against woke ideology. And I think it's about the College Board, like, potentially pushing back.
Is a woke ideology a thing?
No.
Like, Sarah Silverman, please, she just hosted The Daily Show for the last week, and she did a fucking whole thing about being woke because some Newsmax douche from the fucking audience in the White House Journal, like the press room was like, he went through a whole thing about woke, and he's like, so I guess the question is President Biden woke? And the fucking press secretary was like, for fuck's sake.
We don't have time for this. Like, it's the stupidest, it's so racist.
Yeah, but your twin, Sarah Silverman, said, being woke is about learning about what makes other people feel uncomfortable, and then trying to understand it and adjust your behavior, if you can.
So if
you're willing.
I love that you just said that because I've been reading the Stop Woke Act, and just because of the book banning, I've been going through the law because I'm really trying to understand, and I'm trying to find language that can help books not be banned. You know. But one of the things in there is about not making people uncomfortable, which I don't understand. I don't understand. But now the move is also to get rid of the SAT. I don't know if you saw that headline, and move towards a test that is more focused on Western civilization. Now,
one of DeSantis' friends wrote that. Did one of his companies that he's friends with who donated to him? Did they write they're going to be the new people testing?
Right. But the thing with that whole Western civilization, like just to give everyone a clue, Western civilization in the world of Florida, that's Proud Boy language. White civilization is about white supremacy. That's what it's about. They're disguising it, trying to say Western civ. But what they mean is white people. That's what they mean. This is language, like this is what the Proud Boys talk about. And now this is what they want to implement in education. And then there are certain colleges that are like AP college, like that's what they're known for. And you're going to strip Florida schools, and therefore they're not competitive to certain schools, like the very schools, as Hillary said, that he fucking went to. It's so disgusting. And then this Miss DeSantis, and you probably saw this, but a friend of ours, Melissa, posted this of Casey DeSantis inviting this guy from Boise State University, who is from the Claremont Institute. His name is Scott Yenner. And here's some things he said about women. Did you see this?
No.
I have to say it. Women.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. He said that women who have careers are, quote, medicated, meddlesome, and quarrelsome. And then he also said that society should stop thinking of a girl as, quote, a future worker or a future achiever, and start thinking of them as future wives and mothers. If we want a great nation, we should prepare young women to become mothers, not finding every reason for young women to delay motherhood until they are established in a career or sufficiently independent. This is this is someone who is around today, that the governor's wife invited to our state. How are mothers across the state, women across the state, not outraged by this? This is like Nazi Germany, if we're going to get all these women impregnated so we can keep the Nazi line going. That's what this is. It's...
You know what's so funny to me doing this podcast? Because I did a story, I did my story for next week, and it's about this ripe cunt. I mean, this fucking woman. And I even put in my notes at the top, I can't believe I haven't covered this cunt yet. And I just spilled it for next week, but it's this, what she was doing is the same shit they're doing today, and it was 50 years ago or 70 years, or something crazy like 60 years, can't be that long ago, 40 years ago. And it's just shocking to, even to hear a man say something like that. That's not an old thought. That's been happening since caveman time. You know what I mean? Oh, she wants to go out and hunt for herself. She wants to go pick her own berries. Fuck you, bitch. Get back in the cave. This is what it's always been like. And so here's what I want to do.
And what
to protect my mental health and my well-being is, I think that kind of shenanigans is not what's going to get us to win.
No.
I appreciate you bringing that up because we need to know what Casey DeSantis is about, which is being a mother and being a wife.
Right. Well, and she
being,
prefaced it,
and a cancer survivor.
Yeah. And she prefaced it that Florida needs to be protected from woke ideology, and that's why he was invited.
Because now woke ideology is a woman going to fucking work.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, we have to do because we can't afford to fucking live here.
Yeah.
So what do you want us to do? Should we all marry a Ron DeSantis and cower to his fucking bullshit bully ideas and get back in the fucking kitchen? Because the man's gonna take care of us? I don't fucking see a man here taking care of shit.
But guess what? Men haven't done the best of jobs. How about that?
Yeah. I mean, we're talking about leaving things up
long enough.
Yeah, you're talking about leaving things up to dudes. All right, bitch. All right. Hold on a second. I'm gonna pause something real quick. So, I want to play you something else.
Okay.
Just now that you brought you brought that up and reminded me of something.
Okay.
That old bitty motherfucker.
Oh.
Diane Feinstein, whatever.
No.
She finally announced that she's not gonna run again.
Oh. I'm sorry.
And by the way, not only is Katie Porter running for that seat. Remember we talked about that? She's a House rep.
Now this is going to be 15 people long.
Yeah, so
now we're gonna destroy things.
She's a House rep in California. She's capable. She can do it. It's been rumored. I don't know if he's announced it yet, but Adam Schiff,
I heard that.
Rep,
yeah,
it's also gonna run for it. That's two fucking Democrats
that we lose.
That we would or maybe they hold on to their seat until the election. I don't know. I don't know what they would do.
Like California law, I don't know.
But it's a statewide race for senator. So here's a fucking little video. This is insanity. These young kids from California, where Dianne Feinstein's a senator, go to her office to talk to her about climate change. And they're there with a teacher, and they're saying we want you to do something about climate change, right? And she starts to talk over the children, so then the teacher steps in and says something, and then she comes back, Dianne does. This is fucking nuts. Are you ready?
But she's senile, right? I mean...
Oh no, she's a nasty bitch. Now, we have a local rep here who we've seen get nasty at meetings when someone tries to push back on her.
Yeah.
You know who I'm talking about?
I know exactly
Somebody says something to her and she's like a fucking pit bull.
Yeah.
That's what we see here with this one. It's to children about climate change. Okay, hold on. Let me say this. Dude.
Said that we have 12 years to turn this around.
Well, it's
it's not going to get turned around in 10 years. What we can do
Senator, if this doesn't get turned around in 10 years, you're looking at the faces of the people who are going to be living with these consequences.
The government is supposed to be for the people and by the people and all
You know
for the
what's
people.
interesting about this group is I've been doing this for 30 years. I know what I'm doing. You come in here and you say it has to be my way or the highway. I don't respond to that. I've gotten elected. I just ran. I was elected by almost 1 million vote plurality. And I know what I'm doing. So, maybe people should listen a little bit.
Wait,
This
what
is
the fuck?
This is a Democrat.
Bro, you know what? By the way, they're like 11
Look at
years.
that
They're
ego.
like 6th grade,
But
11
look at
years
that
old.
ego.
Yeah. Don't
That
come in here.
ego.
I just got reelected by
Nobody
a million
cares.
plurality.
Nobody cares.
But you know what it says to me? She jerks off to those numbers.
Yeah.
Like she's like, oh,
Look how many
a million
people- yeah.
people. Nobody gives. Out
Nobody
of how many
cares.
people are in California? Let's look up
Yeah.
the population of California real
Yeah.
quick so we can see how many people actually voted for California.
Yeah.
39 million people. And this bitch got 1 million votes out of 39 million people. So
Yeah.
that's who you're speaking for, those million people. Those kids aren't allowed to vote. But they're in fucking DC trying to get shit done. Because their future's on the fucking line.
And what I mean,
But you're gonna
there's
dismiss
a
them?
million other things that you could say.
Yeah.
Yes, I see the urgency.
Yeah.
I will do what I can to address
Hey.
what we can within this
Yeah.
time frame.
And why so hostile? List the things that you've done.
Yeah.
List the things that you voted for.
Oh, can't
Put a
get
bill
this
together.
lady
You
up.
represent a state that is the entire coastline is on the water. You've got earthquakes, fire,
Wildfires.
drought in your state, and you're over here jerking off to 1 million people voted for you. Who gives a fuck?
Get the hell out.
Fucking cares. 90-year-old bitch.
Woo!
You know what she says? You know what it is? Those kids walked in and she saw their skin and she was like, "Oh, these fucking kids. They don't even know how good they have it."
Well, they're not. No, they don't have it good. Clearly, from what the message that they're saying to you,
I
lady.
mean, you know how proud I would be if those were one of my kids
Oh
that
my
went into that traveled to DC with their class and went there with a message. You hear the kid in the background? The government's supposed to
Yeah.
be for the people, by the people.
Yes.
And that was her thing to go, "Oh, well, 1 million people voted for me." Well, the comments on that video were so great. One of them it was that Olivia, I can't remember her last name, the abortion activist from Texas. She said, "This is the villain origin story for one of these kids.
Yeah.
Like this
Yeah.
is the origin story where she's the villain,
Right.
and they're gonna come back and fight like a motherfucker. This
Yeah.
is like the Greta Thunberg or whatever.
Right,
It's like
the moment.
this is
This
her
is the
moment
catalyst,
where she
yeah.
was like, you're the villain in the story."
My God.
I know. All right, am I first?
Yeah.
All right. Let's do it. Now, I found the story, and as I was doing the story, there's 20 stories in it. And I was like looking at these other stories that I thought maybe I should do another one and not this one. But you know what? It's all right. We'll do it. I'm doing the Snow Riot of 1835.
Oh.
So the Snow Riot was a riot and lynch mob in Washington, D.C., which began on August 11th, 1835. And the city of Washington, D.C. was facing unprecedented tension between abolitionists and slavery defenders in the wake of Nate Turner's slave rebellion of 1831 and the revolt in Jamaica that at the end of the year, which despite being defeated, resulted in the final abolition of slavery in British colonies in 1833.
Nice.
So the Nate Turner slave rebellion could be its own story.
Right.
It happened in 1831 and historically known as the Southampton Insurrection, was a rebellion of enslaved Virginians that took place in Southampton County, Virginia in August of 1831, led by Nat Turner. The rebellions killed between 55 and 65 white people, making it the deadliest slave revolt in U.S. history. The rebellion was effectively suppressed within a few days at the Belmont plantation, because I remember they were coming down.
Right.
This, going to plantation by plantation, killing white people and freeing slaves.
Yeah, I mean, when you hold people captive.
Yeah. So that uprising had spread panic and fear across the slave states and in the District of Columbia. Abolitionists were flooding Congress with petitions to end slavery in the nation's capital, so many that the House adopted a series of gag rules to automatically table them because so many people were like, it's enough already. So the event that sparked the Snow Riot in 1835, basically what was happening in the city is this abolitionist thing was happening. People are on the streets handing out literature about abolishing slavery, and the whites were also going through a lot as far as work. Like, they were trying to fight for their rights as workers, and if they would strike, they bring in black workers and pay black workers instead. This made the white men even more fucking pissed. Plus, like what I talked about with my Rosewood story, and which we always know from history, is if anything is done to a white woman by a black man, white men go fucking insane, right? Like, they fucking flip the fuck out. So that starts to happen too. It's all of these things that are brewing that kind of lead to this riot. So the event that sparked the Snow Riot in 1835 was when an inebriated slave, Arthur Bowen, came into his mistress Anna Thornton's bedroom with an axe. So this guy, Arthur Bowen, he was a black man. His mother was the slave of Anna Thornton, but he lived at the house. Okay. And Anna and this slave's mother were close. I mean, I'm not going to say they're besties, but you know what I'm saying? Right. And so he was drunk, but he had been in the square talking about abolishing slavery, like handing out pamphlets. Like, he was known for being someone who was just like about getting rid of slavery. So he gets drunk, he walks back to the house, he picks up this axe and he goes into the bedroom, and he had no intentions of doing anything. I think he just stood there and then he walked out of the room, but it freaked her the fuck out. She freaked out, right? Yeah, so his mother tried to calm her down, but she starts screaming, she calls the police, or I don't know, whatever, and they come and they arrest him, right? So, but the fact that this word gets out, that this slave like had just the opportunity to even hit her with the axe, or was like standing in the room with the axe, freaked these fucking dudes out. And that's the start of like how this all really starts happening. So he was taken into custody without harm, and then this gave pro-slavery advocates an opportunity to go after the man they believed was leading the distribution of abolitionist material in Washington. And his name was Reuben Crandall. And so they start going after this guy because they're just looking for reasons to attack people, right? And now here's this slave who was going to attack a white woman. They're like, see, your ideas aren't fucking good. So they go after this guy, Reuben Crandall, and the district attorney at the time was Francis Scott Key. So this whole thing, this trial of Reuben Crandall is a whole muck episode on its own. But Francis Scott Key like tries to throw the book at this guy, and it turns out it was like a misidentification. Like, this wasn't even the guy handing shit out, and they arrested him and put him on trial. And Francis Scott Key, it like ruins his career as an attorney. This case.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's just like a whole bunch of incidents happening at the same time.
Yeah.
And then that summer, the nation experienced the first labor strike by federal employees and the 1835 Washington Navy Yard labor strike, which began on July 29th, 1835, when Commodore Isaac Hull issued an order in response to thefts limiting workers' lunch privileges. So the Navy Yard strikers wanted a 10-hour day. Could you imagine?
Wow.
And for Hull to retract his order of like can't have lunch, right?
Oh my God.
So the labor strike.
What is wrong with human beings?
The labor strike immediately exposed long-standing racial discord in the yard. In a letter to the Secretary of the Navy, Malin Dickerson, Commodore Hull stated that 175 white mechanics and workers had joined the strike. Many scholars have said that, quote, a direct linkage between the Washington Navy Yard strike and the riot, both national and local events in 1835, combined to bring workers to strike, but long-standing racial fears and anxieties moved the yard's white workers to take the lead in the Snow Riot.
Okay.
In an undated diary entry from August 1835, African-American diarist Michael Shiner confirmed intimidation by white workers and their demand that black caulkers stop working. He said, quote, Commodore Hull issued and every one of them struck and said they wouldn't work. His English is a little, but they put it just the way he wrote it. Said they wouldn't work anymore. And at the same time, they were colored men from Baltimore by the name of Israel Jones, a caulker by trade, and he was the foreman caulker of those colored caulkers, and they were 15 or 20 of them here, and at that time caulking on the Columbia, and the carpenters made all them knockoffs too. So what he's saying is they brought in black workers to take these jobs, and white people, like these white men, were freaking the fuck out. Pissed off, yeah. And thinking that they should strike too, but why would they strike when you're not even... Right. Okay. So the strike had quickly morphed into a race riot, and as striking Washington Navy Yard white mechanics and laborers took out their resentment on the black population, and this resulted in a huge mob of whites in the Capitol attacking all establishments run by free blacks. So schools,
Oh my
churches,
God.
businesses.
I don't it's
Yeah. So, quote, white mechanics and carpenters on strike at the Navy Yard caught wind of a vicious rumor that further inflamed their anger and resentment. They heard a free black restaurateur named Beverly Snow had said something disrespectful about their wives and daughters, end quote. Which
it's a lie.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And this guy Beverly Snow is incredible. I'll tell you a little bit more about him.
Yeah, that's like where they're that like the story that you told before, like anything that's like an attack on a white woman or like that's
it's always rumor.
Yeah, and it's none of it's true.
Yeah.
And,
but they believe in the evil of these folks. You know, if they're black, then therefore they're bad. And so anything you say about them, they're going to believe it, right? The first destination the mob attacked was Snow's Epicurean Eating House, was the name of his restaurant. And it was known for serving sophisticated and luxurious food. Like, this guy was legit
like
business
a chef.
dude.
He's a chef.
Yeah. It was ransacked by the mob, who were in search of Snow because of his status as a free black owner. He was a free man. However, the mob was unable to locate him. After breaking up his restaurant, the mechanics drank all of Snow's stock of whiskey and champagne. Mobs of whites continued to attack all establishments run by free blacks. So after days of disorder and riot, President Andrew Jackson ordered a company of U.S. Marines to restore order. Now, of course, it took Andrew Jackson days because this racist motherfucker, I cannot believe we haven't covered Andrew Jackson on this podcast.
Just so
it's too much.
disgusting.
It's too much shit. Oh, the worst. So after mediation, the Navy Yard labor strike ended on August 15th, 1835. While the striking mechanics were allowed to return to work, they gained little from the strike. The subsequent riot left as part of its legacy a deep and abiding racial mistrust, which would, of course, linger for till today. The city's black community, though, were the chief sufferers. They received no compensation for the destruction of their houses and churches. Blacks not only received no sympathy or aid, but the district council quickly passed a, quote, new ordinance aimed at them, not their attackers, where they were forbidden to assemble after sundown.
Wow. So you can't defend yourself.
No.
You can't gather to talk about, like, what are we going to do?
Yeah.
That's nice.
For the next century, the history of the strike and Snow race remained an embarrassment to be glossed over and disassociated from the District of Columbia and Washington Navy Yard's official histories. So I want to talk a little bit about Beverly Snow because, you know, at the time there weren't free blacks that were black men that were able to, or women, that were able to go and do these things on their own. And the way that I found this story is that there is Oni Judge. I don't know if you've heard of it. She was one of George Washington's slaves who escaped.
Okay.
Her story is incredible. I have her on my list to cover, but I found this from that. But, you know, once he didn't escape. He was like set free. But once they get out, they have to fend for themselves. And this man was able to do it in a way that he was successful, and it still was taken from him. It's just so fucking hard for me to get through that.
And there's no reason for it.
Right.
You know?
Right.
And it's like story after story. It's white men that are the violent, vicious, retaliatory
Savages.
group of people.
Those savages.
You know what I mean? And it's like and still this continued thing of like we can't learn about that, and we're not learning about it to make current white people feel bad, but we have to understand where we are today and how everything is connected. And I think it's like important. We say it all the time, but it's important to be uncomfortable. It's important to have conversations. Like, it doesn't hurt anyone to have a conversation.
And I know this man lost everything, but I also think about, like, what an incredible person this is. I was so impressed by... It's hard to open a business today. It's hard to open a restaurant in 2023.
Yeah, well, and be like a fancy chef.
Yeah,
kind of thing.
but
you know,
to
like,
have a successful restaurant as a free black man in 1835 in D.C. sounds like it's an impossible feat. And this man fucking did it. Yeah. And I'm incredibly impressed by that. Now, of course, he wasn't allowed to keep it because, you know, the world's fucking shit. But still, it's incredible. So, okay. So Beverly Randolph Snow, he was born of mixed parentage. So either his mother or his father was white, and then black. So maybe his mother was a slave. That's a possibility. And he was born in Lynchburg, Virginia, in 1799. He was born enslaved on the estate of Captain William Norval. And by the provisions of Norval's last will, Snow was given to Norval's daughter, Savannah Norval Warwick, with the provision that Snow be manumitted at the age of 30. That means set free. So
at the age of 30, so he has a lifetime of captivity.
Yeah.
Jesus.
You know, and hopefully, usually those are binding, so she kind of has to stick with it. But that's the thing I found in that Washington story when I was reading about Oni Judge is that Washington's wife was married before.
Yeah.
And her husband died. But in the will, she gets the plantation, but she also gets like 85 of his slaves. Of the husband's slaves now become her property, which then she marries George Washington and they become his property.
Can you imagine, like, in a will that, like,
yeah,
you know,
you
get the table, you get this, and then this person, like,
but not only that,
gross.
But not only that,
gross.
It also says, like, when you own a slave, this is what also it says, that in this will, like, if you own a slave, if it's a female slave and she gives birth, that baby is also your slave.
Oh my God,
that baby is also yours, belongs to you.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And so a lot of it, so when Oni Judge's father was white, she was being raped by somebody who worked on, her mother was being raped by somebody who worked on George Washington's plantation. And her mother had like 4 kids and they were all half black. She was being raped by, were white.
Yeah.
Okay? And so all those babies though it's how Oni Judge belonged to George Washington and his wife because she was born to a slave that they owned. And that bitch was like, I'm out.
Good.
Bye. And fucking escapes.
My God.
And the years that George Washington was trying to get her back. Years. And
this is stuff we should have to know about our founding fathers.
We
need to know.
There's so much to know. There's so much I read about this. It's incredible.
We need to know these things.
I'll cover it very soon. But there was things like, you know, in Philadelphia, we had our nation's capital. And it was like, they were trying to get rid of slavery. But if you were a legislator who worked in Philadelphia, they had a rule that if your slaves came with you from Virginia to come with you to work in the nation's capital as a legislator, if they're here for more than 6 months, they are free. They can't be here for more than 6 months. So they would...
rotate them out?
Rotate them out.
Oh my God.
5.5 months, put them back, let's get the other slaves in here. So that they couldn't have to free them. And then there would be some that were like, it was impossible, we can't do this. So then they changed it.
I hate people.
I mean, it is wild.
I can't even imagine having a conversation about the ownership of another person.
Yeah. But it's like their property. It's like owning a tractor.
Right.
It's not a human being to them.
Yeah. No, I get it. But it's incredible to me. All right.
It's a way of thinking that's insane. Okay. So anyway, so he was set free and the family allowed Snow to operate a small oyster house. Okay. Before he was set free, on Lynch Street in Lynchburg, where he was allowed to keep some of the profits. And during that time, Snow married a young free woman named Julia. And he was manumitted in November 1829. So they did set him free. And he and Julia left Virginia, which had harsh restrictions on blacks, and moved to the District of Columbia. Excuse me. Snow was different from most free blacks as he had been educated, wealthy, and successful. Remember, he got to keep some of that money. And so they said that the whites said he was snobbish. You know, he didn't bow his head and fucking cower as they walked by, maybe. I don't fucking know. He was one of a number of black entrepreneurs who owned businesses in the downtown area. His success was evidence of the strength of Washington's free black population. And in Washington, D.C., Snow opened that popular restaurant, the Epicurean Eating House, located on the corner of 6th Street and Pennsylvania Avenue Southeast. This is where the beginning of the Snow Riot happened. And his success made him the subject of, white resentment and envy.
Again, this is white people's emotions.
Yeah. And I have an advertisement.
Their panties are in a bunch about it.
Yeah. I have an advertisement in our notes that's from his restaurant, but it was a place emphasized on sophisticated and healthy food, cleverly advertised with the practical message of health bought cheap.
I love this.
So after this riot...
It makes me think too, again, like we talk about intergenerational wealth, like if this was a restaurant that could have remained... You walk around DC, there's still restaurants there from the 1800s that were opened in right, and you know what I mean? Like, or what could the city have been like if they would have just let people live? Yeah. You know what I mean?
It's a nightmare. It's a fucking nightmare. So he and his wife escape, right? The rioters coming, they're like, bye! And they move to Toronto, Canada, and again opened successful restaurants. His first venture was a coffee shop at the corner of Church and Colburn Street. He later opened the Epicurean Recess, then the Phoenix Saloon in 1848, followed by the Exchange Saloon in 1856. Yes. And then he died on October 21st, 1856. But, I mean, at least he was able to get the fuck out and find success somewhere else.
I love this.
Anyway, that's the Snow Riot.
Oh my
of
God.
1835.
I just, we are just so, like, human beings for all our advancement.
No, that's why we're
so
because we're
uncivilized.
meat sacks.
Yeah.
Like we're easily manipulated. You know what I mean? Like that's how they can fuck with us all the time. And like same thing like this Moms for Liberty. There's a book that they banned in Broward. I'm sure that you saw it because one of your school was listed as one of the schools it was taken from. Was this? Let's talk about sex, like teenage blah blah blah. And it talks about sex in the book. And I retweeted it and I was like, the fact that you think that teenagers who have had access to the internet since birth are learning about sex in a book at the school library is hilarious. These motherfuckers have had access to porn 24 hours a day since they came out of the womb. And you think that's where they're learning about sex? I mean, can you please stop it? Stop.
Yeah.
My son said to me the other day we're in the car and he was like, there was 69 somewhere and he goes, 69? And I was like, what the fuck? I go, what do you think that is? And he literally did this to me. With his fingers. And I was like, what are those? He goes, legs. I go, all right, we got too much shit. There's more things happening in here than I fucking even realized what's going on.
I mean, but think about it. I remember being, 11 and 12 years old.
Yes!
My mom used to have her romance novels, and I would flip right to the middle of the book, and I would read everything I could read.
Let me tell you.
God, she had American Gigolo. I was like, let me read through that book. And we were reading, like, I was saying this to my husband the other day. I said, my mom bought me Flowers in the Attic. Okay,
yeah,
that was the book that like everybody passed around.
Yeah,
and
did she know? She didn't know that was in there.
Yes, she bought me the whole damn series. She bought me
God.
Stephen King books. She bought me, which is like rife of cursing and like craziness, violence, sexual assault in some of them. Like in it, like I read all that stuff. Like by the time I was like 13 or 14, I had read almost like every Stephen King book I could get my hand on. Every like V.C. Andrews book I could get my hand on. Yeah. I was reading Anne Rice, which has like,
but again, we didn't
all
have
queer themes in it. Like, no, but you know what I mean? Like
but also we didn't have access to the internet. Like the same thing you're talking about books. My friend Tammy down the street, her mom had The Joy of Sex. It was up on the top of the shelf.
Right.
But we fucking pulled that down and I was just like,
you look at
and her dad had Playboys, which we found.
Yeah.
Which again is another access. But like that's the access we had. Right. We didn't have this where they could put in blowjob and they got 5,000, 50,000 videos at their hand. Like, give me a break.
What I mean to say though is we were all curious. Like kids,
it's normal.
If it's just normal. And I think the thing, at least like for me, that's different is like I have conversations with my sons about this stuff. Like where
of course
I didn't have that as much, but we cannot shield children. And if you want to shield your child, by all means, shield your child. That is a decision for you and your family. But you do not have the right then to dictate what my children have access to just because you don't like it.
I have to say this too, because there's so many levels of hypocrisy on all of this too. Yeah. And that is that there's that documentary about that awful it's the LDS, I don't know what it's like the Mormon, it's called Keep Sweet, Pray and Obey, and it's about the Fundamentalist Church of Jesus Christ Latter-day Saints, and Warren Jeffs.
Yes,
his dad was the leader, and then his dad dies, and then they have by the way, children. And he had like 30 wives, and they couldn't believe that he died because he was supposed to live forever. Yeah. And then the son becomes it, so then he gets all the wives, and then he starts gathering wives, and he's marrying 12-year-olds, right? And the thing that was so disturbing to me, which is where I think they want, like, my question is this where you want this to go? Is so they were interviewing women who had escaped, and the night out of their wedding. Oh God, yeah. They go in the bedroom with their, let's say they're 16 or 17, they go in the bedroom with their 80-year-old husband. Yeah, I remember this. And he tells them to take their clothes off. Now, these are women who have completely been covered up their entire lives and told to keep yourself covered. Yes. And they're told to get undressed. They don't even know what sex is or how it works. He climbs on top of them and puts, starts to have sex with them. And they're so fucking scared because they don't know anything that's happening. They don't know how a baby is born. They don't know how a baby's made. They know it's born. They don't know how a baby's made. Like, they don't know what sex is. They don't know anything. They don't know anything. But you know what? Nothing. Right. And then all of a sudden, this person who is hurting them, right? Like, this is, Insane.
Yeah.
Insane.
The other thing that's wild to me is if you look at states that have a lot of these book bans and no sex ed in school, they have the highest rates of teen pregnancy.
Yes.
They have the highest
STIs.
Of STIs and poverty, and it's like it's not working. Whatever it is you think you're doing, it's not working. I don't understand what's wrong with educating a kid. And you could do it however the way it works for your religion. I don't know, but stop pawning your pretend fairy tale beliefs onto me. All right, are you ready?
Yes.
All right, today I'm going to tell you the story of Operation Wetback. And I want to apologize now for having to say the awful derogatory name, but this is what the United States government called it.
What?
So, I'm going
It
to
better not have been recent.
Not
Not that it should matter.
Like it's the 50s, but it does sort of echo through today.
God.
But so I'm going to just refer to it as the operation from this point out. So throughout the mid 20th century, the U.S. faced an immigration problem not unlike today, but the solution resulted in one of the largest mass deportations in American history.
Jesus.
So our story takes place in the 1950s throughout the U.S. Primarily, we're talking like, California, Arizona, like more west. And I want to give a little a background about the terminology. So the term wetback, which is of course derogatory, it's a slur. It came about because Mexicans had to go through the Rio Grande to cross the border illegally, and that's where they got the language from, or that's how they came up with the name, I guess, of this slur. But language is everything, right? And I feel like to refer to this operation with a pejorative word in the title, like we're already starting with dehumanization, like right off the bat. You know what I mean? And it's like, I just don't understand how you look at people and look at children and look at communities and not look at them as people. But so before we jump into the 1950s when this was occurring, I want to go back a decade to 1942 when the U.S., with the support of Mexico, created what was called the Bracero Program, which according to Brent Funderburk's Britannica article, it was basically a labor program that allowed laborers or braceros to take on agricultural labor work in the U.S. as seasonal workers. So specifically, like during World War II, men were off fighting, so they needed people to come in and help, right?
Yes.
And also, at the same time, a lot of people were leaving agricultural labor to go work in factories instead. So there was this gap. And, so the Mexico and the U.S. sort of made this deal like, oh, we'll bring some workers over. They get this seasonal work, but then that money's probably coming back to Mexico. You know what I mean? Like it was like this reciprocal kind of relationship.
Right.
So in the 1950s, a few things are happening. We have soldiers returning after World War II. And there was a recession, because this is post-war recession, and they needed to work. So there's also these economic issues happening in the South. Specifically, there was issues of low wages, and so people are kind of suffering at the time, according to immigration history. And just like today, I feel like anytime there is, not a lot of jobs or
they're stealing our
right,
jobs.
you're stealing our jobs, our jobs. So of course the low wages were blamed on illegal immigration. And so in 1951, President Truman had a commission on migratory labor, and that report blamed illegal immigration directly. Quote, "The magnitude has reached entirely new levels in the past 7 years. In its newly achieved proportions, it is virtually an invasion." So this was the language that the government used, right?
Oh my God.
Okay. So again, like
I'm here for an alien invasion, by the way.
Yeah, please take us all.
I mean, by the way, I don't think I didn't.
Oh my God.
I should have been bringing this up already, but we've been shooting down aircraft, motherfuckers.
Oh my God! But how about they shot down someone's hobby balloon the other day?
Oh, good.
It's like it's so stupid.
Idiots.
99 love.
Another fucking song.
Sorry. I was thinking about that, like have like a little video, and it's like and like them shooting it down. Whatever.
They're coming. Right, I'm just saying that there's a lot of alien activity, and I mean like space aliens, and it's happening. So get fucking ready.
Get ready, but you know what? We need help. SOS. SOS. Maybe they see what's happening with DeSantis and they're coming to save us.
You know what? Just have a conversation. Lay out your plans. Let me see what I'm working with here. I
Maybe
might
it's
accept
better.
your invitation.
Yes.
to get to go. God.
So,
what's the homeowner's insurance cost there? on Mars?
Yes. Please take us.
Fuck.
Take me to your leader. No, that's what they say to us. But they don't want to come to, well, I mean, they've got Sleepy
bring
Joe,
him to the leader.
DeSantis.
Bring him to
Imagine.
Joe. Where's Joe? He's sleeping. It's Sleepy Joe. He's taking a
Sleepy
nappy.
Joe. But Sleepy Joe's been doing a lot of good things, I have to say.
Oh, God.
I have to say he's done a lot of good things.
Good.
And I think we need
How
to
about
highlight
this?
that.
Here's a good thing. Win re-election. Please.
Okay, he's got to. Shit. All right, so again, there's this idea that Mexicans or any immigrant for that matter is going to steal jobs, which is not really the case. And there was a lot of this anti-Mexican sentiment where people were falsely believing that Mexicans were dirty and disease carrying, right? It's just racism at the end of the day. We know this. So in 1953, the Eisenhower administration is now in, and they pushed to have sanctions put on undocumented workers. All right, so let's get into the major incident. So the creation of the operation was by the Immigration and Naturalization Service, or INS, under the leadership of Director Joseph Swing. The operation's focus at first was California and Arizona, but then they expanded to include Texas as well as other states. So the operation essentially was a military operation to remove Mexican immigrants from the U.S. But here's the thing. Some of those immigrants were U.S. citizens.
Get out! Get out!
Yeah. U.S. citizens. U.S. citizens.
Jesus Christ!
I know. It's like, I was like,
How did were they able to come? Oh my God, I'm out.
So at
I
first,
can't believe it.
like I said, the Mexican government was on board. According to Aaron Blakemore's article in History, Mexico at the time had a labor shortage, so having folks return to close that gap would help. But eventually, the Mexican government was not happy with the manner in which the U.S. was instituting like these deportment actions, right? So Blakemore goes on to explain that despite Mexicans having entered legally and becoming naturalized, the operation's intent was to send those folks back to Mexico, and they did. So I want to note that there was a lot of people coming in at the time.
Make America white again.
Yeah, I mean that's all this is ever about. Every single time.
You don't look like you're from here, boy.
Yeah, you're not from around these parts.
Get that boy, get him out of there.
My God. So Funderburk's article noted that 886,000 people were caught at the border in 1953.
Damn.
So the plan in theory was to do two things. One, to stop illegal and undocumented workers from entering the U.S. from Mexico. And two, to discourage employers from hiring and hiding illegal and undocumented workers.
Oh, God.
So how did they identify these folks? Well, they'd ask for ID and birth certificates, but they would stop anyone who, quote, looked Mexican. And how did they send these folks back? So it's like, one, if you look a certain way, they're targeting you. And then a lot of people may not have, like imagine, like, who's walking around with their birth certificate? Like, most people would put that away in a safe place, or, you know what I mean? So it's like when ICE was, like, doing that, like, wanting people to have, like, certain papers on them. And I feel like most people are not walking around with important documents.
Oh, my God.
So how did they send these folks back? So a Vox article by Dara Lind on the operation noted that massive raids were happening that included trucks and airplanes, and they even set up roadblocks. Lind also explained that one raid that took place over 4 days resulted in 1,000 immigrants being apprehended.
Wow.
In another raid, kind of like what our Florida dictator did when he sent migrants to Martha's Vineyard, the INS under the Eisenhower administration dropped folks in the city of Mexicali, just left them there with absolutely nothing. And when I say nothing, like no food, no water, nothing. And these people knew no one. And according to Blakemore's article, they wandered the streets in a daze because they didn't know where they were.
Jesus.
They had no contacts with people. They had nothing. And what's important to note is that they were deliberately dropped off in the middle of Mexico. So they bring them as far in as they can so that it would be a harder chance for them to make it back over the border. So it's not like, oh, you're being returned to maybe a city that you came from or where family might be or whatever. It's like, no, we're just going to drop them in the middle of nowhere, throw their shit out, and leave them there. It's insane. It's insane. So, I mean, like I said, no water. The Philadelphia Tribune spoke to Professor Kelly Lytle Hernandez, who said the operation was, quote, lawless, arbitrary, and based on a lot of xenophobia, and resulted in sizable, large-scale violations of people's rights, including the forced deportation of U.S. citizens.
Oh, that to me.
It's scary. That's scary.
I'm all for it. Like, do we need to get a hand on illegal immigration?
Course.
Absolutely.
But there are
I have never seen
ways.
a plan. Yeah, I have yet to see a plan from a Democrat or Republican that's actually going to fucking work.
Right.
Put it into fucking action. Every time there's election, we're going to do illegal immigration.
Yeah.
Well, where's the
What are we
fucking
gonna
plan?
do?
Yeah, this is what you're going to do. Well, then do it, because the process to become a legal citizen is far too expensive and takes far too long. So you're asking people to wait around 10, 15, 20 years working in the United States with a green card or a work authorization visa, because we do this with my company, and they're there renewing it every few years, praying that, hoping to God that this thing's going to get renewed so they don't get sent back because they've established a life here legally, and they're paying
taxes.
thousands and thousands, paying taxes.
Hi.
The amount of taxes that working immigrants pay here is incredible. With the loss of money, if you get rid of all of these immigrants who are trying to become legal citizens,
Right.
like
and
came here legally.
contribute.
Yeah, I'm all for it. Make the process easier, make it smoother, and make it less expensive. I mean, it's costs thousands and thousands of dollars to become a legal citizen. That's outrageous. It's fucking outrageous.
Eider Peralta of NPR cites David Gutierrez's books Walls and Mirrors to show the devastating impact of the operation on Mexicans and Mexican Americans. He writes, quote, not even the most politically conservative Mexican American organizations could ignore the fact that immigration dragnets not only were affecting putative illegal aliens, but also were devastating Mexican American families, disrupting businesses in Mexican neighborhoods, and fanning inter-ethnic animosities throughout the border region. And Peralta also cites May Gay's book, Impossible Subjects, where she writes about the death that occurred as a result of the deportations. She explains that many were returned via ship, where they not only dealt with the terrible conditions of the ship, and some accounts said that it was like, they compared it to like being on a slave ship.
Jesus.
And also 112-degree heat, which close to 100 laborers died of. And she goes on to write, quote, at the other end of the border in Nuevo Laredo, a Mexican labor leader reported that wetbacks were brought into Mexico like cows on trucks and unloaded 15 miles down the highway from the border in the desert. Like animals, just piled into a truck. In the end, Blakemore notes that roughly 1.3 million people may have been deported. And I looked at several different accounts, and the numbers did vary. But the government enacted this operation essentially like a military offensive, and it's noted for its aggressive tactics. So, of course, no charges, no sentencing, none of that.
I wonder also I'm curious to know, and I'm sure, I don't know if you have it or not, but like, really, did it make any impact? Did it do anything that they were hoping it would do? Like, did they see white people get all their jobs back picking, produce? Like, did it make an impact? Did white people, the white men who were coming back from war, feel less insignificant so they could get their job? Like, really, what was the impact besides, devastating these families and ruining their lives and dumping them in, like, humiliating them? Like, did it make an impact that you were looking for, Mr. Truman?
No. Or Eisenhower.
Or Eisenhower.
Yeah. So the operation lasted only a year, and they made a small dent in the immigration problem because employers' desires.
I got the question. Tina's got the answer right.
The employers' desires for cheap labor kept folks coming in.
Right.
So, you want capitalism.
It's not them. It's the fucking Americans that are business owners. This is capitalism,
right? This is capitalism. Cheap labor, cutting corners to make that money. You can't have it both ways. You can't have it both ways. You can't say I want cheap labor and use illegal immigrants and then complain the other way that we're not hiring enough Americans because you don't want to pay Americans a fair wage.
Here's the American way.
It's so gross.
American way isn't like opening a business and being successful. The American way is you're successful because you're cutting corners.
Yeah.
That's how it happens because the government doesn't allow you to do anything else.
No.
And the way that, Republicans in Florida, and I think this is everywhere else, the way they require you to do background checks on employees, it's impossible to hire people who are not here legally.
Right.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
unless it's under the table.
Yeah, they make it almost impossible. So
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
I just don't get it. I don't get it. But to blame an entire race of people, all these people from Mexico are trying here.
Who are also legal citizens. P.S.
That's the fucking part that
Isn't
blows
that
my
wild?
fucking mind.
So today, most people see this for the racist act that it was. In fact, Alfonso Aguilera of American Principles Project's Latino Partnership told NPR in 2016 that, quote, the Eisenhower mass deportation policy was tragic. Human rights were violated. People were removed to distant locations without food and water. There were many deaths, unnecessary deaths. Sometimes even U.S. citizens of Hispanic origin, of Mexican origin were removed.
Oh my God.
It was a travesty. It was terrible. Immigrants were humiliated. So to say it's a success story is ridiculous.
I would sue. This government wouldn't exist anymore.
So, at the time, journalists in states like Texas were praising the operation. According to a Slate article, a journalist from the LA Times at the time stated, quote, squads swooping down in surprise visits to farms, industrial plants, business, and factories. So the aftermath. So the operation lasted a year. And they noted that it was this success and that the border was secure, right? It's like looking into the present. Like, we gotta secure those borders.
We are so predictable. It's
wild.
But knowing that we're that predictable, we should be able to also play that game too. Like, we've got to figure out a way to play the game knowing what they're going to do next.
Right. So one thing that I found really funny is there was an article from the Cato Institute, and it noted that illegal immigration didn't stop because of the operation.
No? Oh,
guess what? It was implementation of visas, like those given to the Bracero program, which lasted well beyond the operation into the 1960s, that actually curbed illegal immigration.
Yeah.
Because there's a process in place, right?
Fix the system. Yeah. Fix the fucking system so people can work within it. People are coming in illegally because you've made it too hard to fucking come in legally.
Yes.
Come on, dude. It's A plus B equals fucking C, bitch.
It's so sad. We're learning math here today in the podcast.
With letters.
So Trump, during his presidential campaign back in 2016, said he wanted to do something. So he didn't name the operation, but he definitely alluded to it. And during one of his speeches, and people were like, "Oh, okay, this is what he's
so smart." Trump, DeSantis doing the same thing, like flying people. They know the fucking history. They're like, let's pull out from an old playbook. They know what they're doing every time.
And this wasn't the first time that there was a mass deportation of Mexicans. Peralta of NPR reported that millions of Mexicans were deported during the Great Depression because, again, Americans felt like their jobs were being taken away. A Timeline article noted that they even used public parks as detention centers. Yeah. And the Southern Poverty Law Center notes that the deportations were illegal and violated human rights. So that is the story of the U.S.'s largest mass deportation.
And then what this also reminds me of is a story that we have never done that one of us needs to do is the Japanese internment camps.
Oh, God. I have
and those were also U.S. citizens, but they had Japanese...
they were Japanese Americans
that they took out of their homes.
Can you imagine? Like
and
stole everything from them.
Living in California, take them and their entire families to an internment camp in Kansas behind high gates.
Oh my God.
Same thing. Same fucking U.S. fucking citizens. We did that too. That wasn't that long ago either.
No.
But it's that fear. The fear is the one human trait that they use in everything to manipulate us, right? From movies, watching a movie where you get scared, to politics, and using that fear to manipulate us to believe that the others are bad guys. And they use it so well. Democrats use it too. They use it to raise money for abortion, all these things. We're going to do this for you because if you don't vote for us, if you don't give us money, this is what's going to happen. And then they don't do it. Then there's I think people are finally starting to catch on to the fact that this is all bullshit, but still, you know what I mean? And
fear is the great motivator.
It is in everything. It's a shame. And it's a shame because people who don't have a lot, they're already scared. I'm fucking scared 24 hours a day. You know what I mean? And so people who don't have a lot think that someone's coming to take the little bit that they have. And the Republicans especially manipulate people that way. And it's really, really, it's a shame. It's disgusting. And if they do it so they can have power and then give power or money to people around them, and here we are. Like,
here we are.
I don't know.
All right. So I wanted to end. I wanted to end. I want to read a quote from a banned book. I want to, like, if we can do this, we could switch off.
I'm going to put some music in here. We're going to call this Tina's banned book moment.
I just want to read a random quote from books that have been banned, and then encourage you to read banned books, or encourage, your children, friends, whoever. So this is from I really love this book. It's called The Bluest Eye. So it's just it's just a quote from the book. All right. Love is never any better than the lover. Wicked people love wickedly. Violent people love violently. Weak people love weakly. Stupid people love stupidly. But the love of a free man is never safe. There is no gift for the beloved. The lover alone possesses his gift of love. The loved one is shorn, neutralized, frozen in the glare of the lover's inward eye.
Tina.
Isn't that a lovely little quote?
Yes.
So the thing that is, I guess, so upsetting is that if there is a particular moment or something that someone doesn't like in a book, that they throw the whole book away. I love this book. If you haven't read it, read it. But yeah, so
girl got me crying again.
No, I'm sorry.
Again.
But we'll that will bring awareness to books that people should be reading.
Thank you. I think that we should do this every week.
Yeah, every week.
We're gonna call it Tina's banned book moment.
Yeah, but you can read quotes too.
No. I don't know. Don't leave this up to me. I have a hard time making sure stories are done.
No, I'll provide the quote. How about that? I'll provide the quote.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll call it the Muck's banned book moment.
Banned book moment.
By Tina.
But no, we need to bring awareness.
Oh, I fucking love this.
Yeah.
I love it.
All right.
You're a genius. And thank you for being such a good friend to me. I love you.
I love you too. And we love you.
Oh, I'll tell you what I'm about to love is those damn chocolates.
I can't wait.
Thank you, Annette.
I'm so excited.
I have to take my kids to the dentist, and as they're getting their teeth cleaned, I'm going to be eating fucking dark chocolate truffles.
Oh my god.
And this is delicious.
Yeah, I'll be at soccer games all day, so that'll be a nice little
fun.
treat to have on the sidelines.
Oh, Annette, what a doll baby.
I know.
Thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for being such a sweet, sweet lady.
Yes.
Love it. I don't even know what Annette looks like. What do you look like? What's going on here?
She is incredible. That's all I want to say.
Yeah. I know this. She's smart as fuck.
Yes.
Yes, she's the best. I mean,
Aw.
she's a fan of ours. What could be wrong? Nothing. Absolutely fucking nothing.
Oh my god.
Oh, keep raging. Is that what her
Yes.
card said? Let's see.
We need to keep raging.
Keep fighting the good fight.
Aww. Thank
Girl,
you.
it's fucking hard. It's hard, but I
It
appreciate
is.
it. You have no idea.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right. I'll see you next week.
Bye.